The De Feo family lived in a large, two-story house in Amityville, a suburban town in Long Island, New York. In the early morning hours of November 13, 1974, JohnDe Feo Jr., the oldest son in the family, burst into a local bar, screaming that his parents had been shot. When police arrived at the house, they discovered the bodies of JohnDe Feo Sr., his wife Louise, and their 4 children, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John, all dead from gunshot wounds. JohnDe Jr. initially claimed that he had discovered the bodies, and that the murders had been committed by a group of unknown assailants. But it wasn't long before the police began to suspect that he was the real killer. Under questioning, JohnDe Jr. eventually confessed to the murders. He claimed that he had been hearing voices that told him to kill his family, and that he had been possessed by a demonic force. He said that he had been unable to resist the urge to kill, and that he had acted alone in committing murders. JohnDe Jr. was tried and convicted of the murders, and he remains in prison to this day. But the story of the De Feo family's brutal murder was far from over. A year after the murders, a couple named George and Kathy Lutz moved into the house with their 3 children. They were aware of the house's history, but they didn't believe in ghosts or evil spirits, and they thought that they can make a new life for themselves in the spacious and luxurious home. But almost immediately after moving in, strange things began to happen. The Lutzes reported hearing strange noises coming from the walls, like whispers and footsteps. They claimed that the house was always cold, no matter how high they turned up the heat. They reported seeing strange apparitions and even claimed that they were physically assaulted by unseen forces. The family lasted just 28 days in the house before fleeing in terror. They left behind all of their possessions, claiming that they were too afraid to even pick them up. Their story became the subject of a best-selling book, The Amityville Horror, and later a series of movies. The Lutzes' claims were widely debated and questioned, but many people believed that they had experienced something truly sinister in the house. The Amityville house remains a popular tourist attraction and a subject of fascination for those interested in the paranormal. While the truth about what really happened in that house may never be fully known, the brutal murder of the De Feo family and the subsequent claims of the Lutz family have cemented the house's place in the annals of true crime and horror. It was a cold and rainy night when Rachel found herself lost on the back roads of a small town. Her phone had no signal, and she was completely alone with no sign of civilization in sight. After driving for hours, she finally saw a small motel off in the distance. Relieved, she parked her car and ran towards the entrance, hoping to find a room to shelter from the storm. The motel was old, musty, and in need of some renovations, but it was better than nothing. The owner, a middle-aged man with a shifty look in his eyes, greeted her with a crooked smile and checked her into her room. As Rachel lay down on the bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She looked around the room but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Despite her unease, she drifted off to sleep. In the middle of the night, Rachel was jolted awake by the sound of the door opening. She sat up in bed and saw the silhouette of a man standing in the doorway. Her heart raced as she reached for the lamp on the nightstand. The light illuminated the face of a man with cold, lifeless eyes. He wore a hooded sweatshirt that was pulled low over his face, obscuring most of his features. Rachel froze in fear, realizing that the motel owner had given her room key to a stranger. The man approached her slowly, his hands shaking as he reached out to touch her. Rachel tried to scream, but the man covered her mouth with his hand, stifling her cries for help. "You are mine now," he said in a low, menacing voice. "I've been watching you all night. You're just my type." Rachel knew she was in danger, and her mind raced with thoughts of how she could escape. She reached for a nearby object, a lamp, and hit the man over the head, causing him to stumble backward. Taking her chance, Rachel ran out of the room and towards the front desk. She screamed for help.
Help me! Help!
But the motel owner was nowhere to be found. With no other options, she ran out into the storm and didn't stop until she found a gas station several miles away. Rachel reported the incident to the police, and they were able to track down the perpetrator. He was a known psychopath who had been on the run for several years, committing similar crimes in other towns. Rachel's terrifying experience was a harsh reminder that danger can lurk in unexpected places. It was also a lesson that we must always trust our instincts and take precautions to ensure our safety.